Hey there! Have you ever been in a conversation where someone is talking on and on and on, but nothing they say makes sense? Or maybe someone explained something to you, but you ended up feeling even more confused. Trust me, we've all been there. Today's lesson is all about describing those confusing moments. I'm your English teacher, Sia, and I've got some fun and amazing phrases to share with you. Whether someone's talking nonsense, making up stories, or just leaving you scratching your head, I've got the perfect phrases to describe every situation. So, are you ready to cut through the nonsense? Awesome. Let's get started. The first phrase is, it's all Greek to me. All Greek to me. Now, use this phrase when you don't understand anything at all, like the other person is speaking an entirely different language. Just like the Greek language, it's so difficult to follow. It's perfect for those moments when someone is totally confusing. For example, I tried to read the instructions, but it's all Greek to me. Or, when they started talking about software codes, it was all Greek to me. So next time you've zero understanding of what is being said, use this phrase to describe it. The next one is talking gibberish. This is a perfect phrase to use when someone is speaking nonsense or making no sense at all. Maybe they're making up words because they're nervous, tired, or even a little tipsy. But whatever they say is absolute nonsense. Let's see how it is used in example sentences. After a few drinks, he started talking gibberish. Another example is, she was so nervous during the presentation that it sounded like she was talking gibberish. Now, this happens, right? When you are really anxious, words just don't come out, right? Moving on to the next phrase, talking in circles. Now, have you ever been in a conversation that felt like it was going nowhere? I mean, it comes back to the same topic or point again and again. That's exactly what talking in circles is all about. When the conversation goes nowhere and someone keeps repeating it like a broken record. It's like beating around the bush. For example, he kept talking in circles and I still don't understand his point. Another example is, we've been talking in circles about this issue for an hour and haven't solved anything. This is perfect for those frustrating moments when a conversation goes around and around. Next, we have quite an interesting phrase, double talk. Double talk. You know, when someone speaks in a confusing or vague way on purpose, maybe they are doing that intentionally because they don't want to give a clear or straight answer. Or maybe they purposely want to mislead someone. That intentionally confusing talk is double talk. Like, you can say, the politician's speech was full of double talk and he never answered the direct question. Or, the actor's explanation was just double talk. He wasn't being honest. So, if you feel someone is intentionally trying to confuse you, use this phrase. Up next, we have a fun phrase, hot air. Now, this is a phrase that describes people who talk a lot but don't really say anything meaningful. Their talk has no substance at all. Like, they make big promises or sometimes even exaggerate something that means nothing. Their talk is just like hot air. Let's look at some examples. For instance, his speech was just a lot of hot air. He didn't say anything about the main issue. Or, don't listen to Aunt Ramona. her stories are all hot air. So when someone's words are just empty talk, you know what to use. Hot air. Moving on to one of the personal favorites, Mumbo Jumbo. I'm sure you've heard this one before. It's a fantastic way to describe someone's talks that's confusing and meaningless, especially in situations when someone is trying to sound smart but isn't making sense. For instance, if you are reading a contract and you can't understand the clauses, then you can say, the contract was full of legal mumbo jumbo. Or, her technical explanation just sounded like mumbo jumbo to me. Basically, it is a playful way to describe a talk that's too complicated or unclear to understand. Now, here's a fun one. Baloney, pronounced as ba-lo-ni. The stress is on the second syllable. Say it once again. Baloney. Excellent. So, baloney is a casual way to call something nonsense or completely ridiculous. It's typically used when someone is clearly lying or making up a story. For example, if someone is coming up with an excuse that's hard to believe, then you can say, that excuse is pure baloney. You expected me to believe that? Or if someone is known for making up stories, then you can say, he's full of baloney, always making up stories. It's a great way to casually say, I don't believe you or your talks. Next on the list is Flim-Flam. This is a great way to describe the deceptive or nonsensical talk. It's often used to describe someone trying to confuse or trick others with fancy words, exaggerated claims, or empty promises. The aim of Flim-Flam talk is usually to distract people or make something sound better or worse than it actually is. For instance, the salesman was using a lot of Flim-Flam to try to sell me the product, saying it's life-changing. Or she realized his Flim-Flam talk was just a way to avoid answering her question directly. So be aware of Flim-Flam talks and don't fall for it. Let's move on to Hogwash. This is another great way to describe something that's completely nonsense and untrue. A hogwash chat refers to nonsense, meaningless talk, or false information. It's used to dismiss something as ridiculous, untrue, or completely lacking in value. If someone says something is hogwash, they mean it's not worth taking seriously. If a co-worker spreads a rumor about layoffs when there's no evidence, someone might respond, don't listen to that. It's hogwash. For example, the idea that this gadget will solve all your problems is complete hogwash. Would you believe it? No, right? Another one. Don't believe that rumor. It's just hogwash started by someone looking for attention. In short, hogwash is a way to call something nonsense, untrue, or ridiculous. Next, we have talking through one's hat. You know, someone who acts like they know everything, but in reality, they know nothing. That is precisely what talking through one's hat is all about. It is when people show that they know something, but instead make things up. Let's check out some example sentences. He's just talking through his hat. He doesn't know anything about finance. She was talking through her hat when she claimed to know all the product details. Isn't it a nice way to call someone out when they're pretending to know more than they actually do? Now let's talk about blathering. This is a perfect word to describe someone who's just rambling on and on without making much sense or clear purpose. Or it can also be used when the conversation goes off topic. It's typically used to describe someone who is rambling on about something trivial or unimportant and it can sometimes be annoying to others. If a friend talks endlessly about what they had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner without stopping, you might say, "Stop blathering and get to the point." For example, he spent the entire meeting blathering about irrelevant topics. Another example is, I tuned him out because he was just blathering about stuff I didn't care about. In short, use blathering when someone is talking endlessly without making sense. And finally, we have word salad. This phrase is perfect for describing speech or writing that's just jumbled mess of words. You know, the ones that don't really fit together? It's like using a bunch of random words and putting them together to make a sentence. You'll often hear this when someone is trying to sound impressive, but their words are confusing and unclear. For example, his explanation of the project was just a word salad. I couldn't understand anything he said. Another example is, the principal's speech was just a word salad of ideas with no clear meaning. It's a great way to describe a confusing mix of words that leave you completely confused. And there you have it, 12 awesome words and phrases to describe confusing or nonsensical talk. Next time you hear someone rambling or talking nonsense, now you know exactly what to say. Before you go, do let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments with an example sentence, of course. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next lesson. Happy learning. Bye for now.